like I said, this is outside of pretty much anything else. My faith walk and my spirituality, I think that's tied in with this. I think this is one of the most, good Lord, we are going to wind up needing chairs. Can someone kind of take the chairs for me while I talk? Thank you, Kat. I'll give you this chair, it's not even like I said, I think it's one of the, if not the important topic. I don't think that if you're going to use a term like food justice, to use the term food and justice and take out and strip out the threads of race and class is to do a disservice and ultimately undermines your movement. But the first thing I wanted to do is, I wanted to know who you guys were, and this might take a little bit, so we're going to do this really fast. I'd like to know your names, and I'd like to know why you're here. And I'm going to start here, quick.
My name's Kaya, and I guess I care because I'm part of a lot of movements that are typically like white middle class or white educated class movements, and I want to see how to expand beyond that.
Awesome.
I'm Rishi, and I care about this because I think it's such an integral issue to like a lot of other issues too. It's like affected by like race and class and food justice and all that thing affects like everything. So.
I'm Lillian, and I came today because I came to your talk last year and was quite riveted by it, so I wanted to learn more about it. And also, I believe that class is one of the last frontiers of, I should say, discrimination and prejudices that still needs to be explored. So I think this is a really important class for me to be here and for everyone else to be here.
You were here last year, that's
Yep.
right, and darn, I'm not going to be able to recycle the same old material.
Okay, I'm sure I forgot most of everything.
Thank you. Thank gosh for short memories.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Raquel, and I'm here because I feel like this is something that affects not only San Diego, but our country, and I'm a part of both of those things, so I should learn more.
Awesome.
I'm Suzanne. I'm a type 2 diabetic, and I've learned in researching my disease that many, many, many people of color have much higher preponderance of the disease than people who look like me.
You're here.
Well said.
Yep.
Hi, welcome. This is Race in Class. I think this is where you want to be. Please.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Christine. I wanted to go attend this workshop because I was really just interested in the issue with like access to food and like just hearing what different groups of communities and stuff have, different access and things like that. I just wanted to hear what you said, and I heard from a friend that you were amazing, so.
Okay. There's like a million Lace Watkins in the world. I know.
I'm Miguel, and I came here because also I kind of like what Richie said. I think like this is something that also like ties in with like many other issues. So I feel like it's something good to look at if you're going to look at the broad picture of things.
I obviously agree.
Hi, I'm Ray, and I don't know much about this issue, so I'm here.
Oops.
Good stuff.
I'm using my stuff.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Kieran. I'm actually taking a class right now in race issues with healthcare. So I feel like the food, the way our food system is organized kind of ties into the health of underserved populations. So I just want to learn a little bit more.
Good stuff.
Hi, I'm Bianca. I don't know much about the issue either, but like Ray, I want to learn and share what I learned.
Good. I'm excited.
Hi, I'm Katrina. I also am here to learn more about the topic. I feel like I was raised in a really like sheltered environment, wasn't exposed to a lot of discussions about race and class, so I'm just kind of coming into it.
Awesome.
I'm Bill. I've been to some of the events in the past, but I haven't been in a while, so let's get updated at this time on what's going on with the whole cultivating food justice.
Terrific. I'm glad you're here.
Hi, my name is Alexia, and I'm a dietetic intern, so I'm just really interested in everything that has to do with nutrition in our communities. So
great. I'm glad you're here. Hi,
parent, and I care because I should.
Wow,
Just, that's it.
that's enough. Good stuff.
Hello, my name is Justin. I'm part of the anti-corporatist movement, and I'm really interested always in how food is used as a mechanism to maintain class disparities.
Ooh, wow. 3 big words in one sentence. I hope I'll do you proud.
Hi, I'm Narisa. I come from a low-income community of color that had little access to sustainable food, local food, and I know that it is directly related to socioeconomics.
My name is Sean. I believe that we know class warfare.
My name's Shane, and I guess I'm just in general, I'm passionate about helping those that are less fortunate, and I like to learn a lot in this.
I'm Carrie. I just feel like it's a really important topic, and I'm just here to learn more.
Terrific. Thank you. And I love your scarf.
Thank you.
I'm Fernando. I'm like a lot of other people here. I'm just here to learn and hear other people's perspective.
Terrific.
I'm Kat Alexander, and I grew up in a low-income situation up in Vista, and soup kitchens, food stamps, government food, and so I can pass for middle class, but I have a different background, so I'm just always been passionate about those with less, and I love lace. You guys are in for a treat. No pressure.
Not taken. I know where you live.
I'm Linda. Lace and I are friends quite by accident, but she is amazing, and I'm here to learn.
And I'm here to love you.
My name is Emily, and I know that food can bring us together, and I think that good food and all these collaborations can bring us even more together. So I want to explore those ideas.
I look forward.
I'm Cecile, and I'm with Sean, except I'd like to up the class warfare and start fighting even harder against the ruling class, because they're pushing us down in our ability to access healthcare, food, and all that. I think the issue of race and class is pivotal to helping us understand why the lack of access to safe and healthy food is systemic. It's not just a question of, growing community farms. We need bigger systemic change.
You just said my entire thing, so I'm going to watch the light low now, because there's absolutely no need for me to talk. But I think that you said some amazing things. We're going to go into them in more depth.
All right, my name is Jaime. Why do I care? Well, I grew up in my parents are migrant farm workers, so knowing that they farmed fruits and veggies, and not having access to it, it's just, I want to know more about it, another perspective.
That's deep. And for my family in Southwest Arkansas, there's a lot of that too. And we're going to talk a little bit about a Native American tribe up in Northern California as well, that has basically wound up not being able to access what they've had for generations and generations and generations, and how they're eating canned beans and canned tuna when they were the most advanced salmon fishers in the Pacific Northwest. And if that doesn't make you mad, it ought to.
Hi everyone, I'm Kim, and I give a damn about justice because I love food. And you love when you care about things, and I just want to see the justice being done. It's like what everyone is here to do is learn.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Hi, my name is Urit. I kind of want to identify what problems we have in our system of food and race, and I also want to talk about some solutions that we could do.
Solutions are great. Yes.
Hi, I'm Vanessa. I guess I just want to gain a new perspective on all of this, and I think come to a deeper understanding of what food actually is, and just obviously it's more than just something we eat. It has a lot more power than we think.
My name's Ruchi, and I'm really interested in sustainable agriculture and making choices that are very powerful. And I just think that making ethical choices shouldn't be a privilege. So just hearing what you have to say.
Can you say the last sentence you said about making ethical choices? Loudly?
Making ethical choices shouldn't be a privilege.
Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is amazing and exciting. exciting that so many people are already here on the same page, thinking thoughts like this, so that my job is going to be very, very easy. I'm never sure where exactly I'm starting in the conversation, whether or not I'm starting from a base of 0, so I have to explain very basic concepts, or if we can start getting pretty vertical pretty quickly. Luckily, this seems to be a group that is definitely the AP crowd. So I think that we are going to be able to get pretty deep pretty quick. Wouldn't you say so? Yeah. I'm excited. No, I don't. Yes. Thank you so much. We're heading into my part. I've got a timekeeper back there that's going to try to keep me on track for the next half hour. I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking about a couple of things that have really, really happened to me lately. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about something that probably has absolutely nothing to do, which is why I'm favoring my left knee. I actually hurt myself in a Food for Less about, you don't know about this, and stop looking like I died. I didn't die. I actually hurt myself in a Food for Less, the one on Euclid and Market, about a month and a half ago. Fell right on both knees. And for a middle-aged suburban lady going, bam! I mean, it's like, whoa! That's not the story. The story is how I fell and where I fell. And luckily, we get to have a wonderful conversation with the people at good old Kroger Supermarkets, which owns Food for Less and Ralph's, about what exactly happened. So I already made it very, very clear to them that my background is Mennonite Quaker and I don't plan on suing them. So you could hear a collective sigh of relief all the way from Kansas City, Missouri, which is where their home headquarters are. But I did say, I want to start a conversation. Thank you for letting me fall on your property. Seriously though, here's why I fell. I fell because there's a bay, and by the way, thank you for not judging me about going to a Food for Less. We're going to be talking about that too, about orthodoxy, and about where you're allowed to go and where you're not allowed to go, and where you start and wind up on the journey.
I have that thought though, I have to admit it.
Why is she shopping there? Why am I shopping there? That's a really good question. Can I put Food for Less up here so I don't forget? Once you hit 40, I'm going to forget this if I don't put it up here. I should actually have someone that goes, don't forget, Lace, don't forget, Lace. First, I'll tell you why I was at Food for Less, because it is part of the story. I, even though technically speaking as someone who can pass for middle class, could live pretty much wherever I wanted to. Sometimes it would mean I would have to live in a garage in La Jolla, but if I felt led, I could live in La Jolla. What I wanted, though, because I'm from Southwest Arkansas, is I needed land. And actually, the minute whenever I start talking about land or agriculture, I get a southern accent back. So it was this visceral pull in my belly that said, when it was time for me to buy 10 years ago, I must have land. And so I found myself in North Encanto, where I found an acre, which is pretty frickin' frackin' awesome. There's a problem with being in a frickin' frackin' awesome place, though, that happens to be in a place that is considered southeastern San Diego, and North Encanto is. In my zip code, 92114, there is how many full supermarkets? None. National chain. None. If you count Food for Less, 1. And that's where my left knee got all banged up. I was there at about 7 o'clock. I was coming home from work. I was wearing high heels for those people that care about those things. And there is this entirely dark bay. I have to go all the way in and pull the cart. It didn't want to go. I wound up on my knees. What it made me do is it made me do an amazing journey through the land of Food for Lesses in San Diego County. Not every Food for Less looks like the Food for Less that I went to. And when I made the accident report, and they didn't want me to make an accident report, but when I made the accident report, one of the guys, and I kind of mentioned, you know, there were no lights, and there were a lot of slippery flyers that were on there, and that's why I slipped, and that's why I fell. And I said, do other Food for Lesses look like this? And the guy did what people do when they're caught red-handed. bad things happen when people ask questions that people aren't prepared for. They actually tell the truth. There's no dissembling, there's no backpedaling. And so he said, ma'am, have you noticed the people that come to this store? As a people who goes to that store, not very often, but I actually said, are you sure you want to say that to me? And then he remembered kind of what he was dealing with, and he backpedaled a little bit. But it was a nice quote to put into the letter to Food for Less people. So I'd like to thank him as well. The problem with this is that I could get really, really mad at the Kroger Corporation and Food for Less and decide never, ever, ever to shop there again. But here's the problem. Gal's gotta eat.
Yeah.
Where am I gonna go? Crickets. There aren't a lot of other places. Now, to be fair, I live about 3 houses away from Lemon Grove, and I live very close to College Grove Center, and I work in Claremont Mesa, and I do have a car, which pretty much means that any Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, as long as my debit card works, is open to me. Except for one small thing. This is my neighborhood. This is where I have chosen to put down roots. This is where I've chosen to be. And even though I have the trappings of middle-class life, and frankly, a lot of North Encounters have the trappings of middle-class life, quite a few other people don't. And this is where race comes in, not necessarily class. There are other places in this city that have, shall we say, issues. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. The relative crime rate in North Encanto and, say, Logan Heights, Mountain View, Lomita, Skyline isn't that much different than other places. Like Claremont, like North Park, like Hillcrest, like Mission Hills, like Pacific Beach. But if I had gotten angry at a Food for Less in Claremont Mesa, I still have other places to shop. That's not quite true. I'd like to put a pin in why people only go to Food for Less, or why people only have certain choices, and talk about choices that we do have. I'm going to make a quick segue and talk about fasting. How many people fasted, like during this whole time when there were all these viral emails going around about fasting for WIC? Good job. Why did you do it?
It was the right thing to do. It's an important issue to me.
What did you do past that?
I talk about it all the time in places where people see what I write. You know, I have a sister on EBT, and it's tough.
It can be. It can be. You know, you guys surprised me. I thought that a lot more people would have raised their hands, and I could have, like, segued into my next point a lot easier, but you guys could.
I'll tell you why I didn't do that.
Hmm?
I'll tell you why I didn't do it.
Please.
I didn't do it because the bosses need to hear our complaint and we're going to find out about it. So why should I sacrifice if it's not going to have an impact?
Absolutely. I think that that's one of the things that when we start talking about race and class privilege, the privilege of being able to fast for a week and then go back to your normal everyday lives was something that no one really ever actually thought about. I actually thought about fasting, and I actually am doing a modified fast in terms of I won't eat unless someone gives it to me, because I think community trumps ideology almost every single time. And for every meal that I don't eat, I'm going to donate a concomitant amount. That way it actually means something other than, well, I'm going to fast for a week. I think that a lot of these symbolic gestures that we make are awesome, but we have to remember that they do come from a really big place of privilege, and that we're standing in kind of really kind of squishy orthopedic privilege land when we do that. I'm sorry, it's the closest thing I can think of when saying that. Because when you're sitting over here with nails in your arms going, oh, isn't that nice, you've decided to forego X. But basically what you wound up doing is putting yourself in a better financial and thereby a better social position unless that money was given away to something. That's one thing. And another question that I actually wrote down here about 10:30 last night, so I suppose I have to ask it. Who did it ultimately help? I think that one, is that part of your question?
I feel like it actually helped the people you're protesting because fasting is a form of silent and invisible protest. I think street protest would have been more effective because it's more difficult to ignore street protest. So I just think that it's ineffective. I think fasting is ineffective, unless you're doing a lot of media around it.
Exactly. Unless you're willing to do what I call the 5 points of ethics. What makes for an integral or an act that has integrity attached to it? You've got to think about what you're doing, yes? You've got to say what you're going to do. You've got to actually do it. You've got to say what you did. And then finally, and I think this is the most important, you've got to take whatever heat comes from it. If none of those things are done, if 3 of those 5 are happening, it's possibly an integral act, but it's worth looking at. If only one of those things are happening, I decided I'm going to fast. Let me know when 10 seconds are over. Okay, I feel much better now. And absolutely no one was helped except I feel much better about myself, and frankly, I feel a lot better than most of you. It's amazing what 5 seconds can do for one's self-concept. Let me ask, is the current system of food, access, distribution, quality, and I know since I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm going to throw it out as a question. Do you feel that it's an equitable and an ethical system, particularly if you use the 5 points that I used, in terms of it being something that people are willing to talk about, willing to execute, and willing to say what happens with that execution? Someone's allowed to raise their hand and give me a yes or no answer, and I promise that I won't give, there's no such thing as a wrong answer. There's an insurgent in the back. Take him away. Wow, really no one's that willing to answer that question? Yes.
I think, so can you rephrase the idea you asked?
Is it fair? Is the current system of food that we have fair? Forget
I would
it.
say no, obviously.
I think I agree with you.
But I think also, I mean, people in this room might think it's also obvious, but I think just talking to friends, family, some people don't know that, or they don't even think about it. And they're just kind of like, well, what do you mean? There's food, or why don't people just go get the healthy food?
I think that you just made an amazing segue into, come on, Toshiba. Thank you. I've been doing a lot of talking. I've got to actually re-sign in. What do you know? I think that that's actually something that is amazingly important. And I hope I can remember most of this story, but just in case I can't, I'm going to give myself a little bit of cheat sheet that talks about people that thinks that everyone can just, like Nike, just do it. If they just do it, then the system would be a lot fairer. If they just eat organically, my God, they wouldn't be obese. If they just go to better stores, wow, there wouldn't be a problem with access. If they just get a car, then we wouldn't have to worry about having certain things in certain neighborhoods. But the thing about certain things with certain neighborhoods takes away something. For every $1 that I spend out of my zip code is $1 that someone else gets. I've told this story last year in the Food Justice Conference last year, that College Grove Center, which serves primarily City Heights 92105 and Encanto 92114 residents, is not part of that zip code. Thanks to some amazing, creative...
What?
Wow. People don't know this. It's technically part of 92115. Wow. No one knows this. And what winds up happening, I'll use a pretty color since someone brought me a color. If this is the college area, and this is City Heights, and this is Encanto, and this is College, and this is College Grove, right here, this entire corridor is considered 92115, which means that every dollar that I spend in College Grove, and that is the closest shopping center to me, does not go in my zip code. Doesn't, yeah. You can talk about how we kind of allocate tax dollars to various communities, but when it talks about me making better choices, and the best choice I make benefits rich and upper middle class people up here, that's a Pyrrhic victory. It's a Pyrrhic choice, and it's a choice that people shouldn't have to make. But I go around literally giving my dollars away. I mean, seriously. I just give them out of my community. If I want a pair of socks, out of my community. If I want fruit juice, out of my community. If I want cigarettes, stick and stay in my community. If I want beer, oh yeah, no worries.
Got it.
Yeah, sucky beer. That, notice the $5 bill, that goes into my community as well. Unfortunately, this doesn't necessarily stay, and it's gone, but I still got to eat what a girl's got to eat. And let's not even talk about places that make even for better choices, such as the Whole Foods, such as the Trader Joe's. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, 2 o'clock. Such as the Whole Foods, such as the Trader Joe's. It is not as though those places couldn't be supported if they decided to come south of the 8 or actually south of the 94. This is where it comes in terms of the cachet, the romance of eating well and eating ethically. Speaking of eating ethically, that's one thing I want to talk about before I talk about Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and Wegmans and all these places that could site in certain areas but choose not to. I want to talk about something else that sounds a bit disparate. Bike to Work Day, which is amazing. There is a big difference between people who do things because they can and because they're doing it right and ethically and they're making good, sound choices, but could make other choices. They get applause. If you decide that you're going to bike to work from Claremont Mesa to downtown, good job. Especially when they know that you've got a Volvo sitting in the garage. And you could do it, but you chose not to. There's a big difference between someone who owns, wait for it, a bike, just a bike, and is biking from their work to their, that's just being poor. There was an amazing site that I was reading about food justice, and then they started kind of talking about the cachet of food justice, and this one guy was talking about it, and he said, it says here, talk about bike guy. So I have to talk about bike guy. Bike guy basically said, I'll get there. I promise. You guys are such a great audience, just letting me go on going up and down and up and down and up and down.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
When you say that you're spending money and dollars go to other communities,
Mhm.
what does that actually mean? Like, what are the dollars?
My tax dollars. San Diego
So it's tax dollars?
Yeah.
Allocation of...
Just like in a lot of ways, and I hope I'm not saying this wrongly, just like in a lot of ways, property tax, my property tax dollars goes to certain, is allocated in certain ways. So are some of sales tax dollars. A lot of beautification projects, a lot of projects that allows people to build, that would allow my district, District 4, to have more services and amenities, instead go to, I think, District 8, which is Judy Moonshine's district, or Judy McCarty's district. And I have nothing against the college area. I love the college area. I went to San Diego State, but I chose not to live in the college area for a reason. And so every single time, one of the dollars that I use enriches another community. And especially when it makes you wonder why there aren't more services in my community. If powers that be know that for every single time I want to buy whatever, I've got to actually spend it over here. That makes sure that the money doesn't stay here. And incidentally, a lot of these low-value goods that I buy, or that I could buy in my own neighborhood, you know, you only need to spend $6 on a pack of cigarettes, which is a lot. But people, particularly working class people and poor people, spend a disproportionate amount of their income on food and a disproportionate amount of their income on household goods. If most of that is going into another area, we got a problem. Oh, no worries.
She was saying until like 1 till 2.
Yeah, we have to lock up, we're closing.
Oh.
I'm gonna make a phone call. I'm gonna make a phone call right now.
I thought it was until 2:30.
No, here the application says 2 o'clock.
Oh, okay. I thought you, okay.
I don't get the wrong things. There's no way to send the library.
Yeah, we're closing.
The whole library.
The whole library.
I am so sorry. We were just.
Can we take it outside?
Can we take it outside? I think it's awesome that we can take it outside.
Well, can we all stack our chairs and kind of put them in some ground? Okay, she's gonna do it. All right.